So I think we managed to push Bolt as far as we can in terms of getting this complete app running, and unfortunately I failed to make it work completely. Basically, it handles normal websites fine, but if it needs to extract any information from, say, Google Maps or Instagram, the sophistication of code that's required is, I think, is beyond what Bolt can handle, or at least is beyond the obvious ways that I would do it. So you kind of have to get a workaround. So let me tell you what I've tried. Basically, in order to be able to, in a sense, scrape information from other websites, even though all we're doing is just getting the title. In order to do that, especially for pages that are generated with JavaScript, meaning when you get the HTML, it's not the fully rendered HTML. You're gonna have to run the HTML to get the full picture, the full website, the full web page. Sorry. So that means just having the Bolt code pull in the information is not enough, right? What does that mean? It means that we need some sort of backend code to run that extracts all this information and returns it to the Bolt front-end app that we saw earlier. So what are the ways that we can do that Bolt allows backend code to exist? Number one, you can supposedly run JavaScript, a JavaScript server. It uses something called Express to create the server. So I asked Bolt to do that. Apparently it created it, but the front end just couldn't find the back end to communicate with. So that was a dead end. Option 2 was to deploy a separate piece of code to a server, like an API, and then have the Bolt app call the API. I tried that option to get Bolt to push it to a hosting platform called Netlify, and boy, that just the integration, I couldn't figure out how to make it work. I could see the code was up there, but I think Bolt was looking somewhere else, the code was somewhere else, so I couldn't make that work. And then I found out about a third option called Supabase edge functions. Basically, Supabase is another third-party platform that integrates with Bolt, and it's mainly a database platform, but it also allows you to store JavaScript code that you can run on a server, and then have your Bolt app call that code remotely. Again, I couldn't get the integration to work, so I didn't even manage to deploy the code to Supabase. So it's either Bolt is just really complicated to use beyond creating simple websites, or maybe I'm just too ingrained in my old ways of doing things, that I need to relearn a few things, unlearn and relearn. Or maybe I just need to dive into the documentation a bit more. So remember that we jumped in cold. We didn't look up any instructions. We just jumped into the prompt and type, and just prompted it to create our app. But that is the promise of these vibe coding platforms like Bolt. But in reality, I think you do need a certain level of software or web development knowledge to be able to do something more complex than just some JavaScript that runs in the browser. So that's what I found was difficult. That was the failure side, or that was our failure on the Bolt side of things. Then I thought maybe just let me go back to what I know, and I thought I'll just build an API, a simple API that grabs the URL, the HTML from a URL and return it to Bolt, and make our Bolt app use my custom API, which is fine. I was able to create and deploy the API in no time because it's stuff that I know. Now then we find the next stumbling block for this application specifically. So it turns out trying to grab information from another website and picking out bits of info from it is not that straightforward, especially for modern websites. And by modern websites, I mean Google Maps, Instagram, because most of them are generated by JavaScript. It's generated on the fly. So then that means you can't just grab the information from the URL. You also need to run that code in the server, on the server side, before you send it back to the front end, to the app that's consuming the API. I think if we were to continue building this, what I would do, and what seems to be what a lot of people using vibe coding tools do, is to go back to the drawing board, start from scratch again, with this time with the knowledge of what needs to be included. And I think the standard practice for vibe coding is to build something, fail, start from scratch, fail, and repeat until you get what you need. So be prepared to start from scratch. So as far as this app is concerned, I mean, it does kind of do half of the job. I like the UI that Bolt has generated. It's not the most exciting UI, but it's usable. It does the categorization. It connects to the LLM, which is cool. And the only problem is we can't process Google Maps or Instagram or any of these popular social network links. And unfortunately, the bulk of the links that are being bookmarked are those types of links. So it's not quite usable. I mean, the thumbnail's not the real thumbnail, but that's not a deal breaker. So we were about 70% there. Unfortunately, the other 30% takes up 70% of the time. But but we learned a lot. We learned about Bolt. I now know more about Bolt going forward with my real app that I'm gonna build. I think it's gonna be hard, especially on the back end. I have to be prepared to start from scratch many times. So there are a couple of things I learned about Bolt that I should mention as well. Not about Bolt, but a couple of learnings from this experience is, number one, in terms of Bolt, if you want some sort of backend service, you really need to tell Bolt specifically that you want a backend to do something. Otherwise, it'll just build everything in the React front-end code. I find that a bit counterintuitive. The Bolt should know whether it needs a backend or not. But I think that's why to build anything significant, you still need some sort of web development engineering knowledge. Otherwise, you'll just get stuck and probably end up hiring a developer to do the work. And then number 2 is a personal learning, kind of a reminder. I'm reminded time and again over the last 20 years of software engineering, the best tool to build something is the tool that you know best. If you know PHP, use PHP. If you know JavaScript, use JavaScript. If you know Go, use Go, whatever. If you know, I don't know. If you know vibe coding, use vibe coding. If you know Bolt, use Bolt. So use what you know. If you want to launch a startup or a business, or you want to build a product, if your goal is to build and launch, use what you know. If your goal is learning, like what we did with this project, then yeah, of course, explore. But if your product is something you want to build as a business, you need to ship it fast, and you need to be able to debug it fast, use what you know. Stick with one tool. So, having said that, I am now, this concludes this little play project to learn Bolt. I've learned a lot. It's been fun. Lots of hair pulling. But I will have to think properly about this next app that I want to build. Whether is the appropriate product for this, I don't know yet. Maybe I'll think of a simpler one. Maybe I should think of something where the whole app can run in the browser or with a simple backend, and be creative with it. I think the point of this hackathon is to showcase what Bolt can do, not what it can't do. So maybe that's where I need to look in terms of ideas. I'm still going to build my journaling app because that is a product that I do want to build and launch as a startup. So I feel that maybe Bolt is not the tool I will use for this. I will stick to what I know. I may build the bulk of it as an API, as a backend. Maybe I'll use Bolt to build the mobile app. That could be an idea. But yeah, otherwise, this has been fun. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope it wasn't long-winded. I'm going to be sharing all my projects in this way. Let me know if you like the format. If it's too long-winded, please tell me how I can improve it. This is a new thing for me, building in public like this, in this much detail. I totally enjoyed it. I want to keep producing videos like this, not just building, but also marketing, launching, and eventually making revenue from your product. Please do subscribe and follow me along on my journey. And thank you so much for watching.